Hello everyone, and welcome to the first video on this channel that's actually not power rankings. I'm very sorry that the power rankings for week 4 aren't up yet. I'm not gonna lie, I've been kinda lazy this week, and whatever motivation I do muster ends up going towards school or the National Trainer Association, which is what this video is about. Since the NTA is my league and the GBA is just a league that I'm a fan of, the NTA is taking priority. I had planned to get the power rankings done on Saturday, but I spent a lot more time on the NTA draft than I expected. I didn't even eat on Saturday until like 6:30, and I didn't even feel hungry. It was actually the lightheadedness that made me realize I had to eat. I guess that just goes to show how passionate I am about this league, that I accidentally prioritized it over eating. I spent so much time planning and reworking my team whenever I got sniped, and I was keeping track of how many points each team had left, which tiers they needed to draft from, which Pokemon were left, and all that. You can check out the Google spreadsheet in the description to see that I basically made a knockoff of the spreadsheet that Baby Nick used for the GBA draft this season. There's also a Google Doc that shows the schedule that I came up with based on the divisions, which were based off the draft order. I also have another Google Doc with my team building process, but I don't really need to share that one since that's kind of what this video is about. So my first pick of the draft was Mega Altaria. Originally this pick was going to be Victini, but it was sniped just one round before by the LA Sapsippers. It's okay though, because by that point the Sapsippers had already been sniped I think twice, so they kind of deserve to get some, I won't really say payback because it wasn't me that sniped them, but still, some good karma, I guess. My original plan was to draft Victini, and then I was confident that Mega Altaria would make it back to me since there were only 2 people behind me, and I knew that one of them wasn't planning to draft their Mega until later. And it would have been smart too because Victini was the first choice of the Chicago Firehawks, one of the teams behind me. But I knew that Mega Altaria didn't need Victini. It was a threat all on its own. Just because I lost Victini didn't mean I wouldn't draft the best Mega in the league. The rest of my team would need reworking, but I knew that Mega Altaria was something that I wanted no matter what. It's the most versatile Mega with great and unique typing that completes 2/3 of the Fantasy Core all by itself. There was no weather drafted, but if there was, then it has Cloud 9 before it Megas. It's definitely one of the best pokes in the entire format, and I'm lucky that it even made it to 6th overall. Next pick, I got Umbreon. I'll admit that this was a bit of a panic pick. Umbreon is actually the only pick besides Mega Altaria and one other that were in my original team. Originally, I wanted an Umbreon and Doublade bulky core because they cover each other so well. And I was still in this mindset when I made this pick. I had not yet taken the time to rework my team, and once I did, Doublade no longer fit. I had learned weeks before that the owner of the Tennessee Volcaronos was thinking about a Sylveon and Umbreon core, and his first pick was Sylveon. At the time, I didn't want to risk Umbreon being sniped, otherwise I would not have taken it so early. Despite all this, I by no means regret this pick. It provides great utility and cleric support for the team and still synergizes well, even without Doublade. My next pick was Infernape. This was basically me trying to make up for the loss of Victini. Even though Victini was the only thing that was sniped from me the entire draft, it ended up changing almost my entire team. Infernape is great though because it covers my BL pick, still provides the U-turn that I wanted from Victini, and has access to rocks, and its dual stabs are deadly. It can have some great coverage moves as well. But what really makes it stand out is its ability to go physical, special, or mixed. So this is where I really start changing my team around. I originally wanted Zapdos and Victini as a Volt Turn core, but with Victini gone, I had to get Infernape as my Fire-type U-turner. and that changed my entire tiering process. I needed a new OUB, and there are very few mons in that tier that I really liked, which is the main reason I wanted Bikini first. One of the only other ones I liked is Raikou, and this ended up changing my OUA pick, which was originally Zapdos, to something else, which eventually led to a huge cause and effect chain that changed my entire team. After changing Zapdos, I needed a new hazard removal, and after a certain amount of change, some things just didn't fit anymore and also had to be changed. Luckily, after the Raikou pick, one of our members was going to be unable to pick for a few hours. So I called up my cousin Josh, and we talked for nearly the whole time that member was gone about changes to make to my team. He wanted me to give him a shout out in the video and let you know that he is as fire as a Charizard. I would have mentioned you anyways, Josh. I wouldn't have said fire as a Charizard, but you don't need to ask to be mentioned. You helped me make over half my team, and I wouldn't take all the credit for that. I just realized that I never actually really talked about Raikou. It completes my Volt Turn core if I choose to bring it. I'm honestly happier with this pick than I would have been with Zapdos, just because when I glance at the teams, I see Raikou as my win condition for multiple battles. It has a variety of sets it can run, and each of those win conditions are different sets, which is great. Next we have Jirachi. Before Josh's help, this was going to be a Mew, and my Steel type to complete the Fantasy Core and complement Umbreon is going to be Doublade. But Jirachi does a little bit of all of that, and what Mew does as well. Doublade just doesn't have the versatility, and it can be worn down easily. I like this pick much better. With all the scary fairy types in the league, I'm glad to have a much more reliable Steel type than Doublade, especially since it has to be able to complement Mega Altaria as well. Jirachi has good dual stabs and could be an annoying Paraflincher, a Scarfer, or a more bulky set. It has well-rounded stats that, with the right investment, could turn it into almost any type of Pokemon. Next is Weezing. One of the main debates Josh and I had was about what defogger was best. I like Crobat, but Josh wanted Weezing, and those two just didn't fit well on a team together. So once we decided on Weezing, we had to come up with a new defogger, which you'll see after this. Another argument we had was about spikes. I wanted to have a spike stack option if I needed it, and Josh didn't like the way any of them looked on my team, so we compromised on Weezing for toxic spikes. It's not exactly what I was looking for, but for an indie pick, it's one of the best. It's a bulky poison type that's good for fairy and fighting types. It has Willow and Pain Split and all the stuff like that. It only has one weakness and is pretty solid all around. So now, the defogger. I know Gligar is kind of unreliable as a defogger since it doesn't get immunity with defog and has an annoying 4x weakness, but it works good with the rest of my defensive core and doesn't necessarily need defog very often. None of my team is weak to rocks, and I end up with 4 mons that are off the ground to dodge spikes and toxic spikes. Defog is not a necessity, but I knew I at least wanted the option for it on my team if I felt like I needed it. Gligar has many other useful options, as long as I'm prepared for a ton of HP Ices. Now, this next pick may seem a little strange, since I just drafted a ground type. Now, this is actually one of my favorite picks, mainly because it started out as a random RU pick, because we didn't see anything else we liked. And then we realized that it trapped steals that would normally stop Mega Altaria and Jirachi. This also means that Dougie can't be used against me. If someone else were to draft it, it would match up against my team really well and put me in a bad position. It's also just a threat that's always going to have to be prepared for. For example, someone might try to run Shed Shell, and I may not even bring Dougie. I just took away their item potential by drafting this mon. It doesn't have to do anything, it can still help me out a lot. So the next pick is Gengar. Basically, Josh and I wanted to have a pick saved up in the back as a sort of counter pick to the other teams. And this late in the draft, it was time to choose it before it got sniped. And it would have been, too, if I had let it fall. I ended up sniping the Snoring Kansas City by 1 round for the second time, the first time being when I drafted Infernape. Gengar has a lot of things it can do. It could be sub-disable, or choiced, or sashed. It hits super fast and super hard. And the fairies that threaten Mega Osharia and Umbreon are not going to appreciate Slug Bombs. It was the counter pick because very little can resist both its stabs, and it works better than most of the other OUA mons that were left. Heracross almost turned into a regret pick. Remember how I wanted the Spike Stack option if I wanted? I was like, oh, I should have drafted Chestnut to have that and complete my Firewater Grass core and get the Spike Stack option and still get a good fighting type. I was going to drop Heracross in free agency to get it, but then I realized that Hera had a great matchup with a team that I would have trouble beating without it. And it's still a great poke overall. Multiple great abilities, amazing dual stab, multiple item potential, and knockoff utility. My last pick was Milotic. I was going to pick this a lot earlier because I was really afraid it was going to be sniped. But everyone picked their bulky water types really early, and somehow no one chose Milotic as theirs. Which is like the best one for the format. I really don't understand how it fell so far. Mirror Coat, Psych Up, just such a good move pool. It has so many good things. I'm really excited to use it. So that's my entire draft. I'm really happy with it. I'm really excited for this league to get started. My first battle is against the LA Sapslippers, who stole my beloved Victini, and they also have Mega Pinsir and Hydreigon. These three things are going to be very difficult to beat. The team matchup is fairly even, and it should be really fun. I will have a team building video up later after we have the battle. The battle will be uploaded on the Sunday after this one. There's a week break between the draft and the first week of play. So I'll see you guys in the Power Rankings video next, hopefully. Bye.